Okay, I need a literary reference. I need a character who seems so close. I need a character who wasn't revealed to be the bad guy until the end. And you thought that the protagonist had, let's say, multiple enemies, all these different things, but they were actually all coming from the same person. I think that reminds me of an episode of Sherlock, the BBC 21st Century. You know, Moriarty. No, it wasn't Moriarty. It was his sister that was. Anyway, because I want to use whatever that character's name is in whatever literary example. Someone who was behind the scenes. Now, it doesn't. I would rather that it not have been like the best friend of the protagonist. Um, Maybe someone that we had seen in the story, but that seemed inconsequential. Uh, but actually, all the bad things can be attributed to that person. Now, I want to use that because have you noticed that sometimes when the person you're talking to seems to be saying absolute gibberish, just being all over the map, and you're like, what the hell? So you imagine, so they're talking to you, and let's see, so like they say something here. This is the realm of conversation. They say something here. Then let's say that you at least think that you respond to it. Then they say something over here. Maybe you think you respond to it. And they say something over here. Think you respond to it. Um, and all of this seems to be sort of headed in the same direction, but you're never um, really letting them get there. You're kind of playing whack-a-mole, going, all right, well, that's bullshit. What? What are you talking about now? That's bullshit. And there's nothing to do with what we were talking about. What are we talking about now? That's bullshit. All right. So maybe if you've ever been that person who saying playing the whack-a-mole, and if you've ever been the mole, I'm sorry for you because you don't even know what's happening to you, but um, and not to, of course, obviously there are examples of the whacker being completely wrong. So a person makes a point, and then they're like, nope, but it's actually a good point. But the weird thing for me is that, well, then why is the circle guy making a whole nother point again? Why doesn't he go like this? Or go like this? Respond to the thing and maybe you go somewhere else, or maybe still go this way if that's still what the circle thinks is justified to believe. In any case, so that may be kind of frustrating, and there you're going blah blah. All right, but if we know that a person isn't just like one thing, and they're also not this either. That's a that's a circle, but with a dotted line. Let's suppose that's their goal. So sometimes you might think that right, this is the person, and they're just using whatever they can to try to get there. Or maybe you can think this is the person in that moment. I addressed it, and then the person out of nowhere, and it's so frustrating. Why are they doing this? Just asserts this other thing. Okay, but with it theory, I think it can make sense. We imagine another unknown, and we're going to call this the VAT, and that's, I don't remember what originally it stood for, but it's basically the true thing to which you can attribute this it. At is from attribution. V, I think, is from true in French. Um, but maybe let's start calling it the VIT, eh? And then it can just be the true source it. It's the source it. Okay, we're not judging the it as being sort of true or false. Remember, we only really judge as far as is it adaptive, is it appropriate or not in this context, which is kind of the same thing as true or false, but an it by itself can't be just true or false. I mean, the it 2 plus 2 equals 4. If there's 2 plus 2, then 4. Maybe in self-defined systems, then you can have a true it. But we'll call that a tit. But for now, we're going to do the VIT is, so basically you've got this VIT here that's being prompted by something. It's got its, oh gosh, being prompted by something. So I don't know, we still haven't figured out symbols for this stuff. But you've got its, maybe like this, oh gosh. And then we got boom, boom, boom. So if you imagine it this way, here's your eye, your condition that triggers this VIT. And this is a secret VIT, by the way. If we knew what it was, it would just be a VIT. But we don't know what it is. So, secret VIT. And also, there are secrets. Secrets. Okay, I can't really read that, but anyway, we're talking specifically about a VIT, and we're talking about a secret VIT. And all right, so maybe there can be some lines that look like an eye to show it getting its input, and then it has we've seen a few of its thens, because this was delivered, this was delivered, this was delivered. This VIT was never delivered. I mean, it delivered, but it was, I guess, never announced. So we never got to like see it. We just got to see some of its deliveries. So I don't know. Someone, you're like, hey, let's go to the beach. And someone says, oh, the water's probably cold. And you go, huh? Were you going to swim? And then they don't respond. They go, it's probably full of people. Probably full. And you go, but what about like the water being cold? And they go, yeah, but not everybody wants to swim. And you're like, yeah, no kidding. That was my point a second ago. But anyway, they go, but still, it's the air is cold. And you're like, I mean, where we are, I mean, it's actually the same. We're on an island, so by exposing yourself to the water, it's not going to be a whole lot cooler. On a pretty small island. Okay. And basically, it seems to keep leading to no beach. But what we haven't heard is, I'm tired. And let's say that's the VIT. I don't feel like it. Now, this may have never actually reached the language centers in the sITstem, in the brain. And so it's possible that the rest of the brain couldn't articulate that this is the VIT. AKA, the brain might not know that this is the VIT. Because I think language and images are some of the ways memos get passed around in the brain. And if this notion of being tired isn't slapping any visual or language information, but it is slapping this, which is producing language. So you put the words cold water, probably full. It's actually possible that the person has sort of no idea what the VIT is. And that's what I have to believe, because I can't believe people are just lying that much, and just thinking I'm stupid, and just playing dumb themselves. And and saying a bunch of like just things. It's like, and if you just fucking told me this, when have I ever demonstrated that if you just told me I don't want to go to the beach, that I'd say, yeah, but I do, so we're going. Obviously, I could do that at some point in a relationship. I don't think I've ever done that, been that close to a person where when I didn't want to go to the beach, went, and now I like really need this. So can we please go? All right. My point is that this is a perfectly fine. I don't want to go is perfectly fine. Something about our culture. So you know what the ACB is? No, the BAC is. So it's one of my favorite it's that I've come up with. Which is not actually. Yeah, I guess I didn't really come up with anything. I mean, it's just basic inhibition, I guess. Sort of. Basically, and the C is what's important. So am I still recording? All right. So, all right. So we've got the back. Brigade, brigade, anti, shop. All right. All right. So y'all know about the back. So in France, there's the homicide department or the whatever, one of the departments or one of the police, whatever, I don't know, is the anti-criminal brigade. Okay. And they're kind of I don't know, the tuck. Am I even in the fucking shot? All right. So there's an the back, that kind of sits there, waiting to evaluate every potential delivery. And so it's also possible. So we can also talk about the possibility that. Oh, sorry. By the way, this does not refer to the input. This is a reference to this. The input could have just been, I don't know, the thought of expending energy. I don't know. I'm tired. Don't want to. Whatever. All right. So anytime that any of these oh, that's tricky because then you've got the T line saying here's a then, but we also need it to be an I line coming from here. So we have to, whatever our symbol is, it almost has to be like, if you read it this way, it's a T, and if you read it that way, it's an I. All right, cool. So, in any case, 2 seconds. All right, so there's this it here, which is really important to acknowledge exists. All right, first let's just talk about this word shope. All right, shope is the opposite of sing. When something feels wrong or untrue or bothers you, um, the the first thing you can say is that it shopes. Okay, without any other information, it shopes. Doesn't actually need to be untrue. Doesn't actually need to be wrong. Doesn't need to be bad for you or anything. It's a subjective thing, but it doesn't require you to judge it, except for just you hear the thing and how you think you feel, and then also what your deliveries indicate about how that thing made you feel, tells us whether that thing shoped or sung. Um, so there you go. So we tend to, because the brain simplified things, and so things that sing tend to be things in our previous environments that maybe were healthy or good for us or beautiful or true, maybe. But true as I love how people are waking up and that you see these. Well, I don't know whether it's a change, but you see these memes on the internet about like the demands of modern society for my brain that evolved to like pick up nuts and berries. Um, Obviously, it evolved for a little bit more than that, but not all this shit. So anyway, so that's why often we have things that we call Porsches, a Porsche, which is a thing that shapes but really shouldn't, that makes you go, no, 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 but really shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe I tell you, hey, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 kilometers or miles or whatever an hour. And you're like, nope, or nope. Okay, that shapes. Okay, and in this case, we can probably guess the reason that it shapes is because it doesn't match your other experiences with things moving at high speeds. Because of course you evolved to have experience with things moving at high speeds relative to you. Anyway, so then we have a Porsche, which might sometimes elicit, which might sometimes show but shouldn't. Fuck this, bro. All right, and then you have, what do you call it? A thing that sings but shouldn't. Thing that you're like, that makes sense, bro. That sounds right. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But then actually, shit, that's just because the way your brain evolves. A siren. Very good. Okay. So anyway, so you've got this back, and maybe it has a partner department, the the BPS, the Brigade Pro Singing, and it is going to evaluate things that are going to come out. And it's probably, I mean, obviously, I think that, I mean, certain people have different levels of backs, and also, so there are different qualities of a back, right? So maybe some people have like a really good back, and they less often than other people say things that they would know to be bullshit because they catch it because they have a pretty good back. Something's about to come out, or as it's going, it runs. Hola, it runs through the back, and then the back gives and then the back either shuts it down. Oh, so by the way, what is the? All right, anyway, and then also some people have a really intense one that isn't very good, so maybe they never feel comfortable saying anything. But it's like, come on, it's okay, say some shit. But they're everything that comes to mind to say gives them anxiety, right? So they've got a really tough back that is not very good at its job. Um, so you can imagine backs on a Cartesian thing. X-axis can be intensity, or y-axis can be intensity, and x-axis can be quality. In any case, so recording. So in any case, so what does the back do then? So suppose what happened was this fired. I'm tired, or I don't want to go. So if I don't want to go, then say I don't want to go. That's one of the things. Okay. It was like, say you don't want to go. All right. Which meant that thing pre-livered. Not delivered, but it pre-livered. So it was then probably evaluated by the back. And the back was like, you can't, because some people, they have this stupid fucking culture where you can't tell people like you don't want to do something. There has to be some quote unquote rational reason, or so I've met a lot of brands that they just don't feel comfortable saying no, let's not do that because I don't want to. Gosh, we're such a mess. So the back turns that right back, or sometimes it'll modify it, or sometimes I think the back system itself will be like, all right, so tired, don't want to go, completely unacceptable to say that. So what? And then it sends out a call for some other reasons that people might not go to the beach besides not wanting to. How about cold water? How about there's probably lots of people there? How about it's cold? Um, so the back sometimes would just shut it down, and the person. In this case, the back would probably send out a call for some other justifications. And this, of course, we talked about aging. That's what's happening here. The whole sITstem is just doing sort of whatever it can, or it's just working on defending some previous delivery. That's what aging is. And that's what they're focused on. That's what they're allocating their resources to defending some previous delivery. So now there has to be a little bit of a spectrum of this, because some people, I feel like all I have to do is repeat back what they said to them for them to go, oh yeah. And before that, I can be like, so that's really true to you, right? That's like you're not bullshitting. I mean, this is not a maladaptive it. This is not a misa where you are, oh, that's also, by the way, what's happening here. Another term we can use is if I say, I get the feeling you don't want to go to the beach. Why not? And then they give you this and this and this. That's a misa. That's a misattribution, right? So rather than telling me the VIT, the actual source of this ultimate delivery, they misattribute. So they say, oh, actually, this is all coming from this. And I usually think they actually believe it, by the way. I mean, I don't even think belief really comes into the equation. It's just the system running. I wish now we had used more of our terms like slap. You could say that this is going to then, you can say that the back is going to then pi this, or even pulse it, and just be like, shut the fuck up. That's unacceptable. And which is why even if it did pre-liver, now when we're talking seconds later, it's gone. The back shut it down. And so the person now surely doesn't know that they I talked about something like this because I spent 2 months with a guy named Fred. And gosh, Fred, you had to really read between the its. Gosh, yeah, he would do that. If he didn't want to do something, he would give a whole bunch of reasons. It's just like, what? Those aren't real. I don't even believe that's your real thing. What's going on? What, you don't want to? And then he would sort of be 50-50 on confessing. And maybe, of course, obviously, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't, for every time I say a thing, I can't also say, oh, and this thing might be wrong. Just assume that everything I say is likely to be, wrong. No, is not likely to be 100% correct. Put it that way. Okay, very good. So we want a term for the secret VIT and or the process by which the secret VIT secretly delivers, or at least in liver, of course, meaning not producing a behavior or speech, but triggering other its. So there's a whole bunch of in-livering happening. We can imagine 100 others, 100 other elements of the thought process. So there you go. And I'm stalling now. Because I want to still be doing this when this person walks up. So this video is probably my seeking playlist, and so so help me out, think of a term, and all right, I guess I'm done. Just gonna put that away, put this up here, and all right, well, we're done.